The Demigods and Semi-Devils. Book 1, Adventures of Youth. Chapter 1, Adventures in the Mountains. Original novel written by Jin Yong, Louis Cha. A flash of green, a dark green sword is thrusted out, pointing right at the left shoulder of a middle-aged man. The young man with the sword in his hand didn't wait for the move to grow old before suddenly tilting the sword sideways as the blade swipes towards the right shoulder of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man holds up his sword to parry. Zing! The two swords meet, each individual sword vibrates, creating a slight hum. The humming did not stop before the flashes began again. Another 3 moves have been exchanged. Suddenly, the middle-aged man's sword sliced straight down, heading towards the young man's forehead. The young man stepped to his right to dodge the blow while leading his opponent's sword on with his left hand, and then the green sword is thrusted toward the thighs of the middle-aged man. Both fighters are quick as a flash, fighting with all of their skills. On the east side of the atrium there sat 2 people. One is a Taoist nun of around 40 years of age, face as cold as iron, mouth closed shut. The other is an old man a bit over 50, stroking his beard with his right hand, face full of pride. They are seated about 2 meters apart, behind each stood about 20 or so male and female disciples. The west side is occupied by about 10 guests. Everyone's complete attention is on the 2 people fighting in the middle of the atrium. The fight has gone on for about 70 exchanges now. The moves keep on getting faster and tighter, but no winner has emerged yet. Suddenly the middle-aged man thrusted his sword out again with great force, too much force, and he started to teeter as if he was going to fall. A young man wearing green in the west of the atrium couldn't help but let out a little laugh. However, he immediately realized that it was very out of place and quickly covered his mouth with his hand. Right at this time, the young man in the atrium sends his left palm out, aiming for the back of the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man took a step forward to avoid the strike. He swung his sword in a circle close to the ground and shouted, "Gotcha!" The young man's left leg was hit and his leg gave out. However, he pointed his sword at the ground and used it like a crutch as he balanced himself and seemed ready to continue. The middle-aged man has already sheathed his sword, saying with a smile, "Brother Chu, thanks for letting me win. Are you hurt bad?" The young man's face turned white as a sheet. Biting his lips, he replied, "Thanks for pulling back, Brother Gong." The old man with the bearded face is alight with pride. He smiled and said, "The East faction has won 3 rounds, looks like the Sword Lake Palace, Jianhu Gong, is going to belong to the East faction for another 5 years. Sister Xing, shall we continue with the match?" The middle-aged nun barely controlled her anger. Brothers Yuo's disciples are worthy of his name. But has Brothers Yuo made any progress on the no-measure Jade Cliff, Wu Liang Yu Bai? The bearded man shot her a look and said in a serious voice, "Has Martial Sister forgotten the rules of our sect?" The nun huffed, but did not reply. The old man's surname is Zhuo, first name Zimu. He is the head of the no-measure sword, Wu Liangjian, Sexiest faction. The nun's surname is Zin, Taoist name is Shui King, double clear, is the head of the West faction. No-measure sword sect used to be in factions of East, North, and West. The North faction in the last decades has weakened much, while the East and West has flourished. No-measure sword was started in the No-measure Mountains in southern China during the reign of the 5th Emperor of Tang. The head of the sect resides in the Sword Lake Palace. Ever since the faction started during the rule of the Emperor Renzong, benevolent ruler, of Sung, there has been a contest every 5 years during which the disciples of the 3 factions compete in the atrium of Sword Lake Palace. First faction to 3 wins is declared the winner and wins the rights to reside in the palace for 5 years. In the 5 years between contests, the losing faction study and trains hard in hopes of avenging the shame of losing last time. The winner, of course, does not slack off either. The North faction won 40 years ago but was immediately beaten in the next contest 5 years later. The head of the faction, in a fit of rage, moved disciples to the west side of the mountain range, never to compete again, as well as losing all contacts with the other two factions. In the 35 years since, both factions have won and lost, with the East winning 4 times while the West winning twice. That round between that middle-aged man named Gong and the young man named Zhu is the 4th round of this year's contest. The win by Gong is the 3rd for the East in 4 matches, thus making the 5th match unnecessary. The west side of the atrium sits guests from other sects, including invited witnesses that are invited by either faction. The rest are just guests who are here to watch a show. Everyone here has at least somewhat a name in the Yunnan area, with the lone exception being the young man wearing green sitting at the end, who just happened to be the one that let out that solitary laugh. The young man came with Ma Wuda. Ma Wuda is a big tea merchant in the area. He loves company and gets along with most everyone. If anyone in the world ever came to him for help, mostly financially, he would always do all he can without exception. Hence, he is well liked and well respected with many. However, his kung fu is only average. Zhuo Zimu vaguely remembers the young man being introduced with the surname of Duan. Duan is the surname of the emperor in Dali. Inside of Dali borders there are tens of thousands of people with the surname of Duan. Therefore, when the young man was introduced, Zhuo Zimu didn't really pay much attention to it, figuring that he probably is a disciple of Ma Wuda's. This Ma Wuda's kung fu is average to begin with, how good can his disciple be? So Zhuo didn't even bother with the much admired phrase, just plainly cupped his fist and led them to the atrium. Who knew that this young man is so brazen as to laugh at one of Zhuo Zimu's favorite disciples? So now, Zhuo Zimu smiles and says, the 4 disciples of sisters in that float this year all had very good sword skills. Particularly in that 4th match, our win was especially lucky. Disciple Chu's skill is at such a level at such a young age. Looks like his future is limitless. In 5 years' time, it seems like East and West are going to switch places. Ha ha ha. Suddenly he turns his eyes to the young man named Duan. My lacking disciple used a fake move, teetering step, to win earlier. This young gentleman does not seem to be impressed. Please demonstrate to my disciple how it should done. Mr. Ma is famous throughout the area, his disciple's kung fu should be very good as well. Ma Wuda blushed a little from that comment. This young man is not my disciple. With the little kung fu that I know, how can I possibly be somebody's master? Please don't think too much of it, Mr. Zhuo. This young man came into my town, heard that I was coming to visit No Measure Mountain, so he asked to come along. He says that he has long heard of the scenic beauty of No Measure Mountain and wanted to see and experience it for himself. This got Zhuo Zimu thinking, if he is your disciple, then out of respect to you, I wouldn't go too hard on him. But since he is just a normal guest and visitor, there is no need to be polite. Someone is actually brazen enough to laugh at No Measure Swordist faction's kung fu. If I do not make him regret it, then where do I put my face? So he sneers, don't know how we should address you, Mr. Duan, or which famous person is your master. The young man named Duan smiled a little, my given name is Yu and I have never learned any kung fu in my life. But if I saw someone fall, doesn't matter if he meant to or not, I couldn't help but to laugh a little. Zhuo Zimu couldn't help but get angrier, for he does not have any respect in his tone of voice. What is so funny about it? Duan Yu lightly flicked the fan in his hand, casually replied, a person standing or sitting is not funny, lying in bed, no humor there at all either. Lying on the ground, on the other hand, is very funny. Unless he's a 3-year-old baby, then we'll make an exception. The more he talked, the less respectful he seemed to become. Zhuo Zimu turns to Ma Wuda, Mr. Ma, is this Mr. Duan a friend of yours? In truth, Ma Wuda just met Duan Yu as well and doesn't know a thing about Duan Yu's background or past. However, he was born friendly and Duan Yu insisted upon coming to No Measure Mountain. Ma Wuda felt awkward to refuse, so he brought him along. At this time, He could tell that Zhuo Zimu's voice is full of anger and won't hold back if he gets started. Duan Yu seems like a nice guy, no point in getting him into trouble. So he says, although Mr. Duan and I are casual acquaintances, we still came here together. To me, Mr. Duan seems very gentlemanly and does not know a single bit of kung fu. So his laugh a moment ago must have been just reactionary and he did not mean anything. How about this? I'm kind of hungry right now, so Mr. Zhuo, why don't you get some wine and the two us then toast you 3 shots each as an apology? Such a good day today, Mr. Zhuo, why fuss with someone of a younger generation? Zhuo Zimu plainly replied, Mr. Duan, since you are not a friend of Mr. Ma, then if I, in any way, offend you it doesn't have anything to do Mr. Ma. Guangji, this gentleman was just laughing at you, why don't you go and ask for some advice? Guangji is the given name of that middle-aged man named Gong. He had been waiting for his master to say something. At once he unsheathed his sword, jumped into the middle of the atrium, flips his sword over, and offered the handle up to Duan Yu. Mr. Duan, please. Duan Yu replies, very good, go on and practice, I'll watch. He did not move at all from his seat. Gong Guangji's face turned purple. You. What did you say? Duan Yu answers, you have a sword in your hand and is swinging it here and there, want to practice? Then go ahead and practice. I never liked watching others fight and such, but since I wanted to come here and you aren't really fighting then I guess it wouldn't hurt to watch. Gong Guangji screamed at him, my master is telling you to come out here and fight it out with me. Duan Yu lightly waved the fan in his hand and shook his head casually, your master is your master. Your master is not my master. Your master can command you, but your master can't command me. Your master told you to fight with someone, and you have done so already. Your master told you to fight with me. First of all, I don't know how. Second, I'm scared to lose. Third, I'm scared it would hurt. Fourth, I'm scared I might die, so no fighting. If I say we don't fight, then we don't fight. This whole speech, full of your master and my master, came out so smoothly that it seemed to be a poem. Numerous people in the atrium could not help but crack up somewhat upon hearing it. No Measure Sword West faction is divided half male and half female and more than several female disciples start to laugh coquettishly. The serious atmosphere that so engulfed the atrium a moment ago is gone in a flash. Gong Guangji walked up to Duan Yu, points the sword at Duan Yu's chest, asked loudly, you really don't know, or are you pretending? The sword is merely inches away from Duan Yu's chest, only a small push is needed for the sword to penetrate his heart. But Duan Yu's face is still calm and shows no signs of fear. Of course I don't know, why would I pretend? Gong Guangji replies, how dare you cause trouble here in No Measure Mountain, here in Sword Lake Palace? My guess is that you are tired of living. Who is your master? Who told you to come here? If you don't tell me the truth, don't blame me if I don't hold back. Duan Yu casually replies, hero, why are you being so ferocious? I have never liked fighting with others. Your sect is the No Measure Sword, in the middle of No Measure Mountain. It is said in Buddhist canon, there are 4 things that are of no measure, kindness, sadness, happiness, and sacrifice. As to what that means, I think everyone knows. Happiness leads to kindness, eliminating bitterness leads to sadness, being with friends and leaving bitterness leads to happiness, leaving everything so that worry and affection are equal as one leads to sacrifice. No Measure is of Buddha, Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha. Note, I'll be using the phrase without measure instead of no measure because I think it is a better translation of the original phrase. As he just sits there muttering to himself, Gong Guangji has pulled back his sword. Suddenly, he threw his arm out and landed a solid slap on Duan Yu's face. Duan Yu tried to tilt his head to avoid the strike, but the slap was too quick. On his white gentlemanly-looking face, one can clearly see 5 red fingerprints. This caught everyone by surprise. Seeing Duan Yu's casual attitude and all the playing around he does with his talking, everyone assumed that he must be someone with spectacular skills. Who knew he couldn't even dodge a very average slap from Gong Guangji? Obviously, he does not know any kung fu. In this world, a master pretending to be stupid, jesting with others to amuse himself is very commonplace. How can someone that does not know kung fu be so brazen and foolish to do so? Even Gong Guangji stood there dumbfounded for a moment, then immediately he grabbed Duan Yu's chest and lifted him up. I was wondering what kind of extraordinary person you are. It turns out you are just a sack of shit. He threw Duan Yu down. Duan Yu rolled along the floor, finally coming to a stop when his head hit a leg of a table with a loud bang. Ma Wuda did not have the heart to see this, scrambled over and helped Duan Yu up, all the while saying to Duan Yu, "So you really do not know any kung fu, then why cause trouble here?" Duan Yu answered while rubbing his forehead, "I only came here to visit the mountains and to check out the landscape. Who knew they were going to fight? You chop me, I chop you, what's so great about that? A monkey show would be better. Goodbye, Mr. Ma. Goodbye, I'm getting out of here." A young disciple of Zhuo Zimu's jumped out right in front of from behind Zhuo Zimu, blocking Duan Yu's exit. "Because you don't know any kung fu, if you leave like this, it really is no bother. But why did you say that our little contest is worse than a monkey show? Seems rather harsh, don't you think? I give you two choices. Either we spar a little and let you have a taste of this worse than monkey sword skill, or you can go and count out 8 times to my master, and then say bullshit. 3 times. Duan Yu laughed. "You crapped? How come it doesn't stink?" The young man did not take well to that comment, responding by simply throwing a ferocious punch straight at Duan Yu's face. Just as it looked as if Duan Yu is going to get his face smashed, an object came flying through the air and wrapped around the young man's arm. This object felt cold and slippery to the touch yet somehow firm. As soon as it wrapped around the young man's arm it started to slide. The young man pulled back his arm in shock. Looking down he finds out that the object was a snake. The snake is about 2 foot long and green with red markings. The young man let out a huge scream and started to try to shake the snake off, however the snake seems to be quite comfortable on his arm and did not want to leave no matter what. Suddenly Gong Guangji screamed, "Snake! Snake!" Everyone turns in time to see his face filled with fear. His hands were inside of his sleeves, reaching and grabbing for something in his back. But of course he could not reach it, so in panic he started to rip his cloth off. This drastic change happened so quickly and was so unexpected that nobody has recovered from the initial shock when they suddenly heard a single solitary laugh coming from above their heads. All at once everyone looked up and saw a young girl sitting on a roof beam with snakes in her hand. She had dimples like flowers. This girl looked to be around 16 or 17, dressed in green. In her hands were 10 or so foot-long snakes. These snakes vary in colors, but from their triangular heads, it was obvious they were poisonous. But this girl did not seem to mind at all, as if they were toys in her hand. Everyone only glanced at her for a moment, for Gong Guangji and his martial brothers screaming and yelping made everyone turn their eyes back onto them. Only Duan Yu kept his eyes on the girl. The girl's feet were swinging back and forth, as if it was lots of fun sitting there on top of the beam. So he asked, "Miss, are you the one that rescued me?" The girl answered, "That bad man hit you, why didn't you hit back?" Duan Yu shook his head, "I don't know how to hit back." Suddenly everyone collectively let out an ah. Duan Yu turned to see Zhuo Zimu holding a blood-stained sword in his hand. A red snake is lying on the ground, in 2 pieces, obviously killed by him. Gong Guangji by now is half naked, but still jumping around like a clown. He is trying to grab a small green snake that is crawling around on his back. A couple of times it looked as if he almost got it, but he never came up with it. Zhuo Zimu commanded, "Guangji, stand still and don't move." Gong Guangji froze, and then a flash of white, and the snake is on the ground in two pieces. Zhuo Zimu's sword speed was blinding. Most of the people present did not see what happened until the snake is on the ground, yet Gong Guangji's back is left unharmed. Everyone present could not help but cheer. The girl sitting on the beam shouted down, "Hey! Hey! Old man with the beard, what did you kill my two pet snakes for? If you keep this up, I'm going to stop being so courteous." Zhuo Zimu replied angrily, "Which household did you crawl out of? What are you doing here?" All the while secretly marveling at the girl, this girl who stealthily climbed up onto the beam without anybody noticing. Although everyone's attention was focused on the contest between the factions, but that still should not excuse letting a person climb up onto the beam unnoticed. If a word of this gets out, how much face would no measure sword lose? The girl's feet swung back and forth. Her shoes are of light green color with a couple of delicate yellow flowers sewn on the sides, and basically dressed as a little girl. Zhuo Zimu continued, "Jump down this instant." Suddenly Duan Yu blurted out, "From that high? She'll get hurt. Go tell some people to bring a ladder." A couple of people snickered a bit at that comment. The female disciples under the West faction all thought, "This guy has the look of a well-educated gentleman, but it turns out he's as dense as a piece of wood." The girl got up there without anyone noticing. Why would she need a ladder to get down? The girl replied, "First you have to compensate for my snakes, then I'll get down to talk to you." Zhuo Zimu answers, "What's the big deal about two little snakes? You can just go and easily catch two more just anywhere." He is not worried about the girl because of her young age. What worries him is that this girl might have someone very powerful, such as her father or master, backing her up. Therefore, he is actually reasonably polite towards her. The girl grinned and replied, "If it's so easy, why don't you go and catch them for me?" Zhuo Zimu switched the subject, "Jump down." The young girl simply answered no. Zhuo Zimu threatened, "If you don't come down, then I'm going to have to make you come down." The girl let out a little laugh before answering, "Hee, come and try then. If you can make me get down, then you are really something." Zhuo Zimu is still a leader of a sect. No matter what, he can't be seen actually fighting a little girl. So he turned to Shuai King, "Sister Xin, could you please send one of your female disciples up there to get her down?" Shuai King replied coldly, "We don't have anyone here in the West faction with that level of King Gong, lightness kung fu." Zhuo Zimu's face dropped one more shade and was just about to answer back when he was interrupted by the young girl, "If you don't compensate me for my snakes, then I'm going to show you a thing or two." Reaching into her pouch, she took out a furry thing and tossed it at Gong Guangji. Gong Guangji figured this was some weird flying weapon, so he dared not grab it with his hands and just tried to get out of the way. But who would have guessed that this furry little thing was alive? With a twist in midair, it landed squarely on Gong Guangji's back. It is only now that everyone saw what the thing was, a gray-colored marten. A cute weasel-like creature that can climb trees, this marten was amazingly quick, crawling all over Guangongji's back, chest, face, and neck as if it were flat ground. Gong Guangji tried to grab the little creature, but it was way too fast for him. So he just ended up looking like a clown with a furry ball shooting up and down his body. Duan Yu couldn't help but laugh, "Truly amazing, now this is interesting." This marten is only about a foot or so long, its eyes are blood red, and it has claws as sharp as razors. Very soon, Gong Guangji's upper body is covered with countless streaks of scratch marks. The young girl hissed a couple of times, a white shadow flew right at Gong Guangji's face. Suddenly the marten has pounced onto Gong Guangji's face and stopped there, its furry tail swiping back and forth across his eyes. Gong Guangji immediately tried to grab the marten. But by the time his hands got there, the marten was already behind his neck and Gong Guangji almost dug his own eyes out. Zhuo Zimu stepped up and his sword came flying in. At this time the marten has ended up on Gong Guangji's face once again, Zhuo Zimu aimed his sword at the marten, but the marten has already scrambled to the back of Gong Guangji's neck. Zhuo Zimu's sword stopped just in time so that it is just touching the eyelid of Gong Guangji. Although he missed the marten, the people present gasped in admiration. For if the sword had gone just a bit further, Gong Guangji's eye would have been gone. Shuai King thought to herself, Brother Zhuo's sword skill is indeed extraordinary, even I can't match him. Just this plundered crossing of the Golden Needle, Jinzhenduji, is proof enough of that. Swish. Swoosh. Zhuo Zimu linked together 4 more moves one after another, but although his moves were fast to a rare degree, the marten is still 1 step faster. That young girl shouted down, "Old man with a beard, your sword skills are actually pretty good." She then hissed a couple of more times. The marten suddenly scurried downwards and disappeared. Zhuo Zimu was taken aback for a moment. Gong Guangji suddenly started grabbing and scratching his legs. It turns out the marten has gotten into his trousers. By this time Wan Yu has almost doubled over in laughter. Clapping his hand, he commented, "Now this is a real eye-opener, this trip was worth it after all." Gong Guangji literally ripped his trousers off, revealing a pair of hairy legs. The young girl shouted, "Like to bully other people, don't you? Well, let's see how you like it if you are stripped naked." Then she hissed twice more. This marten turned out to be quite obedient as it immediately crawled into Gong Guangji's underwear. With all the girls present in the atrium, there is no way Gong Guangji is going to take off his underwear. So all he could do was hop around for a bit and smacking his butt and thighs with his hands. Suddenly he let out a scream and start desperately, albeit very awkwardly, making his way out of the atrium as fast as he could. Just as he is about to exit through the door, someone suddenly popped in from outside. Bang! Both of them were in a hurry and they ran right into one another. Gong Guangji was knocked a step back, but the person that was entering the atrium fell back and landed in his back. Zhuo Zimu cried out involuntarily, "Brother Rong?" Now, Gong Guangji had to ignore the marten that's moving all around his pants as he reached down to try and help the person up. Suddenly the marten moved onto a particularly sensitive spot, forcing Gong Guangji to shriek and grab for the marten, thus making the man fall down again. The young girl let out a rather coquettish laugh. "All right, I think you have had enough." She let out a rather long hiss. That marten suddenly appeared from Gong Guangji's underwear, crawled up the walls, jumped on the beam, and returned to the young girl's lap. The young girl grabbed a snake by its tail and dangled it in front of the marten. "Good boy, here's your reward." The marten grabbed the snake and devoured it. Turns out that the snakes were food for the marten. Duan Yu was simply amazed by all of this. He has never even heard of anything remotely close to this. The marten finished eating the snake and crawled back into the young girl's pouch. Gong Guangji helped that man up again, asked in surprise, "Martial Uncle Rong, you alright? What's the matter?" Zhuo Zimu ran up to his martial brother. Rong Ziju's eyes are wide open in a stare and his face is one of indignation and hate, however, he is not breathing. Zhuo Zimu is shocked tremendously. He immediately tried to rescue his martial brother by giving him some of his own inner force. But he was not able to do anything. Zhuo Zimu knows that although Rong Ziju's kung fu is not as strong as his own, it is still much stronger than Gong Guangji. The fact that not only was he not able to avoid Gong Guangji, but was killed by it, means that he must have already been gravely injured. So he immediately opened up Rong Ziju's shirt, exposing his chest. On his chest, written in big black letters, were the words, "Divine Farmer Clan here to exterminate no measure sword, Shen Yi Bengzhu Mi Wu Liang Jian." More than just several persons screamed involuntarily. The 9 words, note, it is actually 8 characters in Chinese, were not written by ink, nor is it carved out using a sharp object. A poison that caused the flesh to rot was applied in the patterns of the words on Rong Ziju's chest. The rotten flesh sank into his chest and formed the words. How can Zhuo Zimu not be furious? He gave the sword in his hand a shake, making it hum, and shouted, "Well, let's see if it is Divine Farmer destroying No Measure or No Measure eliminating Divine Farmer? If this murder is not avenged, how can I call myself a man?" He turns around and inspects Rong Ziju's body, but other than the words, he shows no sign of injury. He commands, "Guang Hao, Guang Ji, go check outside." Gan Guanghao and Gong Guangji are two of his proudest disciples. They pulled out their sword and ran outside. By now the atrium is in a mess, everyone gathered around Rong Ziju's body discussing and analyzing the situation, completely ignoring Wan Yu and the girl on the beam. Ma Wuda commented, "Divine Farmer clan's behavior is just getting worse and worse. Brothers Yuo, how did you become enemies with them?" Note, Ma Wuda is addressing Zhuo Zimu as a brother out of friendship, not actual martial or real brotherhood. Zhuo Zimu thought about his martial brother's tragic and terrible death, swallowed hard, and answered, "For some herbs." Autumn of last year, 4 lodge heads of Divine Farmer clan came to visit, asking access to the back mountains in our control to collect some herbs. Collecting herbs is really no big deal. Divine Farmer clan originally started collecting and selling herbs, and there is no grudge whatsoever between us two clans. But Mr. Ma, you know very well that our back mountains are forbidden to outsiders. Not even the best of friends is allowed to go there, not to mention a clan that we never had any contact with like Divine Farmer. This is the rule ever since the start of our sect, we dare not disobey it. Actually, it really isn't anything serious. The young girl on the beam put the snakes in her hand into a little bamboo basket she has tied around her waist. She took out some melon seeds and started eating them, her 2 feet are still swinging back and forth. Suddenly, she took a melon seed and threw it at Duan Yu, hitting him right on the forehead. Laughing, she asked, "Want some melon seeds? Come on up." Duan Yu answered, "I can't without any ladders." The young girl replied, "Well, that's no problem." She untied a green silk ribbon from her waist and dangled it down. "Grab a hold of the belt and I'll pull you up." Duan Yu answered, "I'm heavy, you can't lift me." The young girl giggled and replied, "Oh, give it a try, won't kill ya." Duan Yu grabbed onto the ribbon that is by now right in front of him. The young girl cautioned, "Hold on tight." She lightly lifted her hand and Duan Yu's feet are off the floor. Hand over hand, the young girl easily lifted Duan Yu up onto the beam. Duan Yu said, "Such an interesting marten you got, so obedient as well." The young girl took out the marten from her pouch, holding it up to Duan Yu. The marten's furs were shiny and its red eyes stared at Duan Yu in wonder, just as cute as can be. Duan Yu asked, "Can I touch it?" The young girl answered, "Go right ahead." Duan Yu started to stroke the back of the marten, feeling the smoothness and warmth of the marten. Suddenly the marten hissed and jumped back into the young girl's pouch. Catching Duan Yu completely by surprise, he lost his balance and almost fell off. The young girl grabbed his collar and pulled him in right next to her. With a smile she said, "You really don't know any kung fu? How strange." Duan Yu asked, "What's so strange about it?" The girl answered, "Well, you don't know any kung fu, and you came here all by yourself, then you are bound to be bullied by these bad people. Why did you come here?" Duan Yu was just about to answer when footsteps interrupted him. Gan Guanghao and Gong Guangji just came rushing back into the atrium. By now, Gong Guangji has put on another pair of pants, although he still hasn't put a shirt back on yet. Both of them have a look of panic on their faces. Walking up to Zhuo Zimu, Gan Guanghao reported, "Master, Divine Farmer clan is gathered on the mountain top facing ours. They have blocked every path and say that no one is allowed to pass. We saw that the enemies are here en masse. Without specific orders from our master, we did not dare to start fighting." Zhuo Zimu nodded. How many of them were there?" Gan Guanghao replied, "Around 70 or 80. Zhuo Zimu let out a little sneer, 70 or 80, and they want to exterminate No Measure sword? I'm afraid it might not be that easy. Gong Guangji held up a letter. They have shot this arrow up with this letter attached to it. Zhuo Zimu glanced at it, seeing that the envelope read, written to Zhuo Zimu. He did not feel like touching the letter, so he commanded, open it up and see what it says. Gong Guangji opened the seal and took out the letter. The young girl leaned over and whispered in Duan Yu's ear, that bad man that hit you is about to die. Duan Yu was quite taken aback. Really? The girl whispered, there is poison on the seal and the letter. Duan Yu still can't quite believe it. You sure? Gong Guangji started to read, Divine Farmer Clan writing to Zhuo. The person reading this letter, he dared not to speak his master's name out loud, so he stopped once he read Zhuo. We give you 2 hours of time to cut off your own right hand, destroy all your swords and weapons, and give up the Sword Lake Palace. Or else not a dog of No Measure Sword would live. No Measure Sword West Faction's leader Shuai King snickered. Who the hell do Divine Farm Clan think they are? Talking shit like that. Suddenly Gong Guangji fell straight backwards. Gan Guanghao, who was standing beside him, automatically reacted by reaching down and trying to help him get up. Zhuo Zimu took 2 quick steps forward, placed a palm on his chest and lightly exerted some inner force, which shook Gan Guanghao back 2 steps. Zhuo Zimu shouted in the midst of the move, might be poison, don't touch him. Looking down, Gong Guangji's face twitched non-stop, the hand that was holding the letter has already turned pitch black. His feet twitched a couple of times and then all movement stopped. In such a short amount of time, No Measure Sword has lost 2 top fighters. Everyone present is struck dumb with shock and astonishment. Duan Yu leans over and whispers, are you in Divine Farmer Clan? The young girl angrily rebuked, Pei. Of course not, why are you talking nonsense? Duan Yu asked, then how did you know that there was poison on the letter? The girl laughed and replied, this kind of poison is kids' play, you can spot it a mile away. The only people that they can get are the clueless ones. Everyone in the atrium heard her last comment and all looked up. She is still sitting there eating the melon seeds, her feet still swinging back and forth. Zhuo Zimu turns and inspected the letter in Gong Guangji's hand. He could not see anything out of the norm. He tilts his head and looked even closer. Finally he see that both the seal and the letter has faint traces of phosphorescence. His heart went cold all of a sudden. Turning around, he addressed the girl, may we have the honor of knowing your name? The girl replied, my name? Can't tell you. This is a secret of the highest degree, strictly on a need-to-know basis. Zhuo Zimu suppressed his anger and indignation with great effort, asked again, then who is your father? Which hero is your master? The girl answered with a smile, I'm not falling for that. If I tell you who my dad is, then you would know my surname, and then could check up on who I am. My master is my mom. My mom's name is even more top secret than mine, can't tell ya. From her dialect, Zhuo Zimu can tell she's definitely from inside of Yunnan province, maybe even local. Thinking to himself, in the martial world in Yunnan, which pair of husband and wife that's good at King Gong could be her parent? The girl hasn't fought yet, so he can't make a call based on her techniques, so he turns to her again, Miss, please calm down so we can discuss this together. Divine Farmer Clan isn't letting anyone through, probably will kill you too. The girl laughed and responded, they won't kill me, Divine Farmer Clan will only kill No Measure Swords people. I heard the news out there, so I came here in hopes of catching a good show. Old man with a beard, your sword skills are not bad, but you don't know anything about poison, you can't beat Divine Farmer Clan. Her last sentence hit the nail on the head. If only real kung fu is used, the 2 factions of No Measure Sword and the 8 or so guests here in the atrium might be able to take on Divine Farmer Clan. But nobody here understands a thing about poison, so the whole situation changes when poison is thrown in the equation. The girl's tone of voice seems to show that she is really looking forward to this, As if more of No Measure Sword dies the happier she'll be. Zhuo Zimyu could not help but sneer, asked, "What did Miss hear out there?" He is used to giving orders and being insufferably arrogant, so he asked this question as if the young girl better answer with the greatest humility. The girl suddenly asked out of nowhere, "Want some melon seeds?" Zhuo Zimyu's face turned a slight purple. If it wasn't because the enemies are at the gates, he would have snapped a long time ago. So he restrained himself with the greatest of effort and answered, "No." Naturally, Duan Yu cut in, "What kind of melon seeds are you eating? Laurel? Rose? Pine?" The girl replied, "Whoa. What's the big deal about melon seeds? Why have so many different kinds? I don't know about all those kinds of melon seeds, but these are made my mom. She made them by frying gallbladders of snakes. Eating them improves your eyesight. Want to give it a try?" She gave a handful to Duan Yu and continued, "People who aren't used to them think they are somewhat bitter, but actually they taste really good." Duan Yu didn't want to go against her wishes, so he put one in his mouth. It is somewhat bitter, but there is a bit of spiciness to it with very sweet aftertaste. Afterwards the back of his tongue feels clean and refreshed, so he picked up another one and put it in his mouth. He put all of the shells on the beam besides him, but the girl didn't seem to care and just casually spits them out. The random falling shells has caused quite a few people below to get annoyed and move further away. Zhuo Zimyu asked again, "Miss, what did you hear out there? If you can tell us, I will be forever grateful." Because he is the one in need, he tried to sound as polite as he can. The young girl asked in return, "The Divine Farmer clan people talked about some No Measure Jade Cliff, what in the world is that?" Zhuo Zimyu was taken aback for a moment, quickly recovered and replied, "No Measure Jade Cliff? Do we have some precious jade or jade stone? Never heard of it before. Sister Sin, have you heard of this before?" Before Shuai King could respond, the young girl cut in, "Of course she never heard of it before. Stop playing around as if I'm a kid. If you don't want to say it, then don't. HMPH. Not like I really care." A bit awkwardly, Zhuo Zimyu continued, "Oh yeah, I think I know. Divine Farmer clan was probably talking about this smooth cliff face of the White Dragon Peak in our No Measure Mountain. This rock is very smooth like a mirror, you can even make out individual hairs in the reflection. Some people say it is a big piece of jade, but in reality, it's really nothing more than a really smooth and really clean piece of rock." The young girl replied, "Well, if that's all, why didn't you say it earlier? Then how did you and Divine Farmer clan become enemies? Why would they not even allow a dog of No Measure Sword live?" Zhuo Zimyu sees that he can't get anything out of the girl without first letting his secrets out. Because the urgentness of the situation and with all the outsiders present, he can't very well grab the girl and force her to tell, can he? He suggested, "Miss, please come down so I can tell you everything." The girl's feet continued to swing back and forth again. "If you are going to tell, what difference does it make if I come down? And I don't believe more than half of what you say anyways. So go right ahead." Rage flashed on Zhuo Zimyu's face, but he quickly recovered and began, "Last year Divine Farmer clan came to ask for access to our back mountains to collect some herbs and I refused. So they snuck in and ran into Brother Wrong and a couple of disciples, who scolded the perpetrators for trespassing. They replied, 'What is this place? The Imperial Gardens? Why can't we come here? Did No Measure Sword buy up all of No Measure Mountain?' Words were exchanged and the conversation became very heated until they finally started fighting. Brother Wrong did not hold anything back and killed two of them. That's how it all started. Then on the banks of the Lankang River two sides got together again, a couple more of lives were lost there." The young nodded. "Oh, so that's it? What kind of herbs were they looking for?" Zhuo Zimyu replied, "I'm not quite sure which kind." The young girl triumphantly replied, "Figured you wouldn't know. Since you have told me how all this got started, I should probably tell two things. That day I was out catching snakes for my Marten Lightning. Duan Yu cuts it, your Marten's name is Lightning? The young girl answered, yeah, of course. When he gets going, isn't he quick as lightning? Duan Yu nodded in agreement, that's right. Lightning. Such a good name. Zhuo Zimu glared at Duan Yu for interrupting, but the girl is just getting to the important part and might get mad if he goes after Duan Yu, so he kept his mouth shut. The young girl continued to talk to Duan Yu, Lightning loves to eat poisonous snakes, he doesn't eat anything else really. I had him since he was born, he's 4 now. He only listens to me and nobody else, not even my parents. If I want him to frighten people then he would, if I tell him to bite he goes and do it. Such a good boy. She reaches into her pouch with her left hand, petting the Marten. Duan Yu isn't a complete fool, Mr. Zhuo is just as anxious as can be. Why don't you tell him what he wants to know? The girl let out a little laugh, looked down at Zhuo Zimu, and continued, so there I was hiding in the bushes searching for snakes, when a couple of men came walking by. One of them said, this time, if we don't kill all of No Measure Sword, take over No Measure Mountain and the Sword Lake Palace, all of our heads will be taking a nice little trip. I heard that there will be some fighting, figured it would be pretty interesting, so I kept on listening. They just stayed there chatting, saying something about orders from the Nimble Vulture Palace of Misty Peak to take over Sword Lake Palace and check up on No Measure Jade Cliff. As she said this, Zhuo Zimu and Shuai King shot a look at one another at the same time. The girl asked, what exactly is Nimble Vulture Palace of Misty Peak? Why does Divine Farmer Clan listen to its command? Zhuo Zimu replied, this is the first time we have heard of the Nimble Vulture Palace of Misty Peak. We had no idea that Divine Farmer Clan was actually obeying orders when they were stirring up troubles with us. Thinking that the Divine Farmer Clan would obey them, then that Misty Peak whatever must be quite formidable. Of all the mountains and peaks in Yunnan, Zhuo Zimu has never heard of one called Misty Peak. The more he thought about all of this the more worried he got. The girl ate 2 more melon seeds before continuing, so then one guy said, if the herb Heaven's Link of No Measure Mountain can cure the illness of our clan leader then we would gladly take on whatever hardships that may come our way to get our hands on it. Another guy sighed, only the Kid Elder of Heaven Mountain, Tian Shan Tong Lao, herself can cure this life-death insignia that is in me. Heaven's Link may have amazing healing powers, but I'm just hoping that it would ease some of the pain when this life-death insignia breaks out. It really is worse than death itself when they walked away and I can't hear them anymore. Am I clear enough on what happened? Zhuo Zimu was deep in thought and did not answer. Shuai King suggested, Brother Zhuo, Heaven's Link is nothing special. If Si Kongzhuan, head of Divine Farmer Clan, wants some to numb the pain, then why don't you give him some and all would be solved? Zhuo Zimu snapped back, like it would make a difference if we give them some Heaven's Link? Didn't you hear? They are after No Measure Mountain and the Sword Lake Palace. Shuai King looked at him again, but did not reply. The girl put her right arm under Duan Yu's armpits and said, going down? Before Duan Yu could answer she's already leapt off of the beam. Duan Yu just managed to let a little yelp out before he was in midair as well. The girl gently landed on the floor with Duan Yu, her left arm still around his right arm. She suggested, wonder what Divine Farmer Clan looks like? Let's go outside and have a look. Zhuo Zimu jumped forth, hold on, I still have a couple of questions I want to ask. You said that when the life-death insignia on Si Kongzhuan breaks out, it is worse than death itself. What is life-death insignia? And who is the Kid Elder of Heaven Mountain? The young girl replied, first of all, I don't know the answers to your questions. Second of all, with an attitude like that, even if I knew the answers I wouldn't tell ya.